Obesity, how is it defined, and is that definition going to change? Well, I was emailed an article about this and talking about organizations in healthcare trying to change the classification of obesity to be used with different metrics. Right now, it's used with BMI. So if you're in a certain BMI range, BMI just being a ratio of your height and your weight, you're classified as obese. We have three classifications of obesity. We have normal weight, we have underweight, we have morbid obesity. We have just basically these classes depending on your height and your weight. As your weight goes up, your BMI goes up. And now they've found that some people can be classified as maybe an obese person in regard to their weight, but they don't have the other underlying things that would necessarily go along with obesity, which is the health factors, right? They might not have diabetes, they might not have heart disease, they might not have any of these things. But from my standpoint, what I've seen over and over again is that as BMI goes up, as your weight goes up, the risk of these diseases increases. And maybe you can be in that range. Let's just say you're obese, your weight is very high for your weight, that ratio, but you don't have these negative health risks, right? You don't have heart disease, you don't have high blood pressure, but that load on your body over time will then increase the risk of that, and you will end up with diabetes and you will end up with these diseases. So maybe I can take a snapshot of you today and you don't have those risks, but over time you will. Now, there are genetic anomalies and there are people that are classified as obese, but because they have high muscle mass, let's just say they're a bodybuilder or they're someone that lifts weights or they're an athlete, they have high bone density. So they don't fit that model of a high weight comparative to their height being obese. They have no fat on their body, but they're in a healthy overall state, but their weight shows something different. Well, this is such a small percentage of the population. This is usually what's used is, hey, people don't necessarily classify as obese in regard to their health, but they classify as obese with their weight. So we can't use that as a metric. Well, we can what's the point of these things? All right. We're there to take the averages so that we can make some estimation on what we do with this person. It's not meant for the outliers. It's meant for the averages. Now, if I go to the doctor and my weight says obese, but the doctor's standing in front of me and we're, you know what I mean? I can see through the other health metrics that this person is healthy if they are. Now, it's super rare for those things to happen. So that's why I don't like them taking those examples, because it is super rare. The people who do have, let's just say we change the metrics now to be focused on body fat, looking at DEXA scans and looking at things like high blood pressure and diabetes and these other things, which I think we should all do. But what does that do? For me, that slows down the process of classifying. It makes the numbers look better because you're going to have a lot of people that can't get a DEXA scan, or maybe this stuff is provided by the government now, and then these healthcare companies get more money because now, oh, well, instead of just taking your weight at the doctor, they have to do a DEXA scan, which costs way more money, and we have to have DEXA scans everywhere we go. So the reason why I like BMI is because it's easy to use. Anybody can find a scale. It's easy for us to track, and the anomalies, all right, you can deal with those as they go. Whereas on the averages, it's a direct relationship. As your weight goes up, the risk of disease goes up. It's just simple. We know this we've seen this over and over again. Why do I need a DEXA scan to tell me that a fat person is fat? I hate to break it to you, all right? If you're 300 pounds and 5'2", you're fat. I don't care what your blood pressure says at the moment. You're going to end up with high blood pressure. You're going to end up with diabetes. You're going to end up with these things because your body can only take that load on it for so long. So these little snapshots that we try to look at and then change the statistics on, which is, I think, another thing that might be happening, is maybe because our numbers are so bad, especially in this Western world, the United States, our country has such terrible numbers with obesity. So like, maybe we can mess with these numbers and get the numbers to go down so we don't look as bad. We look like we're doing a better job so that people don't get mad at us when we want to increase premiums and things like this. That's just my point of view. I think that it's twofold. Maybe it's they're trying to get more money through, like I said, through these requiring you to do all of these extra tests. So that means that insurance will end up paying more. So they get more money because they're going to have a DEXA scan. They're going to have more of these blood tests and all these things to make sure, oh, well, you might be overweight, your weight might be high, but it doesn't necessarily fall into our categories for obese, so you're not obese. And on top of that, then those numbers go down and we look like we're healthier than we are. Well, here's the other thing. Of course, we should look at other metrics, but if you want to talk about health, think about all the people that are at normal weight, but then have cancer, or normal weight and they have other diseases. That doesn't fall into the line of health. You wouldn't say, oh, that person has a healthy weight, they're healthy because they have cancer. No. So if we're going to really dive deep in this and we're going to take more metrics on health, we're going to look at liver enzymes, we're going to look at visceral fat, we're going to look at all these other things you could do so many things. Like I said, spend a lot of time and a lot of money finding out that we're unhealthy. And you're going to find the same thing. We're not healthy. We're sick. Our food supply is terrible. Even if you're normal weight, you're probably screwing up some part of your health. I know someone that has high blood pressure and they're normal weight. They're not obese. They're not this. Okay, then what do you do with that person? Oh, well, they're not obese. So our statistics go down, but they're not healthy either. So what does that do? So again, we can slice these things up. We can make ourselves feel good many different ways by looking at statistics. I say stick to the way that we're doing because at the end of the day, we want to try to keep our weight down. That is going to help us stay away from the risk of these diseases so much. But if we have other interests at heart, we have healthcare that wants to raise costs or do more procedures with people or provide more drugs for people, they're going to want to change the metrics, on things, or they're going to want to, again, allow for these things to get propagated, meaning, hey, we need more tests, we need more drugs, we need more this because we need to get these results. So I think that it's dangerous for us to then start going away from the definition that we have only because it takes care of the majority. Yeah, the outlier, professional athlete, bodybuilder. Okay, those people aren't at concern when they go to the doctor. We don't need to have some classification for them. They're an outlier. They're always going to be an outlier no matter what. So why are we going to change the system for outliers? I say, if we know that as your weight goes up, your risk for disease goes up, why are we going to try to change that classification? I think there's other interests at heart. Maybe it's coming from the healthcare industry. Maybe it's coming from just the country itself. We want to look better, all right, with our statistics. But I don't think that this is the right way for us to get to the way that we want. I think if you want to get healthy, we got to get away from healthcare. We got to look at our food supply. We've got to try to do our best to lower our weight overall. And that's going to come through better food, better quality food. Even if you have a normal weight, what is your health? If you have high blood pressure, or if you have cancer, or if you have these other things, what's going to help you? If you have a better quality of food, we don't care about that. We're just going to change these metrics on things. To me, it's backwards. I think we should going from the root system and working our way back up versus trying to change classifications of things to make ourselves feel better. That's just my 2 cents. Don't fall for it. Let's think about what really provides health and let's go after that.